So it has been 4 months since I quit my full-time job, and it's actually been beautiful. It's actually been a roller coaster, I will admit. Not a big roller coaster, actually, but a roller coaster nonetheless. The first month off was chaos. It was absolute chaos. There was so much going on, and I was still really transitioning into the new, I guess, like identity and habits that I had chosen by leaving my job to get into the flow. And I expected so much from myself in that first month, like as if I had to as if that month had to be perfect, otherwise it was going to set up the rest of my months and they were going to be a disaster. But that was not the case at all. I realized it was a upheaval, a transition, a transformation, and transformations are messy. Transitions are messy because your old version, your old self you're essentially letting go of them. You're letting go of their beliefs, their behaviors, their habits, particularly if you make such a significant change like leaving a job or moving somewhere or having a child or getting a puppy in my case. And so it was so chaotic, but it was so beautiful because I came out of that. Of course I came out of that. I transitioned out of that, and I remembered something about difficult times is that they don't last. They never last. And it's really how we experience them. I often find that the more I just accept that that period is not going to be a productive period, that period is not going to be a time where I'm creating and I'm in flow, I'm creating momentum. It's often a rebuilding and a stabilizing and a returning inwards phase, and recognizing that makes it go so much faster because you learn the lessons you need to learn quicker. You make the changes that are happening faster. You don't resist those changes. The resistance is less because you allow it to happen. You allow the transition to move you through your life. And so of course I came out of that chaos straight into very intense motivation and inspiration. Like I just wanted to go and get things done and work so hard. And initially I kept wondering, like, am I doing too much? Like this isn't sustainable. Like why do I really need to be doing so much? Because at the same time, like I really love energetics as much as I love strategy. And so I was like, I feel like I'm doing this in the wrong energy. Like I'm just pushing and pushing and pushing. But now again, cycles of growth. This is all about cycles of growth. So now again, what I've realized is during that period where I was just pushing and doing so much, essentially what was happening is this was my comfort zone, right? And so I had to stretch myself all the way out here. I had to stretch my capacity all the way out here because at here, let's say with content, I was maybe only posting once a week. And so the idea of posting 3 times a week seemed like a lot. And so I pushed and stretched my capacity out to here and was posting every day for a month or two there. But what I realized is that now that it's settled back, it's contracted back to something that feels sustainable and good and easy even, is more than what it used to be, but it's less than what my stretch capacity was. And so what happened is this was my comfort zone. I stretched all the way beyond to a point that was uncomfortable, and then it relaxed back to a point that was bigger than my previous comfort zone. And so now it feels like posting 4 times a week isn't very much, even though it's multiple times what I used to. And so this can show up in so many areas of our life. It's when we want to make a big change in our behaviors, in our habits, to really stretch beyond what's comfortable, it's okay to push yourself a little bit. I know these days with the energetics of like, don't push yourself, it's not sustainable, anti-hustle, but I'm kind of like anti-hustle in this regard because each phase is different. You're not just going to coast all the time. That comes later. That's the season of success that comes after the season of growth. And the season of growth is often pushing yourself to your maximum capacity, because then when you come back to a sustainable amount, to an amount that feels easy, that feels like it's the right amount, is actually a whole lot more than your previous comfort zone. It's the same, for example, with any habit, let's say health, right? If working out once a week kind of feels like a lot, then maybe what you actually need to do is work out every single day. Maybe not lift heavy weights every single day, but actually have a dedicated time to work out every single day for a few weeks, for a few months. And then after you feel like you've gotten to that point and you've successfully, and you're proud of yourself that you've actually created such a change, it's okay to then take a few days off and go back to maybe 4 days a week, because what will happen is you'll start to feel like 4 days a week isn't very much, that 5 days a week isn't very much. And so by having that mindset that 5 days a week isn't very much, suddenly it becomes easy to work out most days of the week, when prior to that stretch, it was hard to work out 2 days a week. This is the same with saving money. What if you, for a few weeks or a few months, just saved or invested a massive amount of your paycheck, obviously within reason, but say you got 20% on essentials, you've got 20% on spending money, and actually that's a pretty good ratio already. Let's say 50%, I'll be realistic, 50% on essentials. What's left? 30% on fun money or just unexpected expenses. And then you're saving and investing 20%. What if for 2 months you save and invest 40%, 50%, where it does feel like you don't have a lot of extra money to spend, to really stretch your financial flexibility, to get used to living on less and saving and investing more, knowing that you don't have to continue like that, but you may find that if you're suddenly saving and investing this much and you've figured out how to live on this much, actually it's not so bad. Or maybe you're like, okay, I'll decrease how much I save and invest, and I'll allow myself to spend and shop a little bit more, just not as much as I used to. And so I love this stretch and contract concept, and I actually learn about it in breathwork, right? It's a scientific concept that is to do with our, funny enough, nervous system capacity. I know that's a buzzword recently, but it's actually a scientific concept to do with our nervous system's capacity. And so in breath work, what happens is you do a type of breath work that activates and stretches your capacity to a point. And so then when you go back into your normal life, you're at a point which is greater than what it was before you went into that breath work. You can feel more, you can experience more, you can handle higher levels of stress. And I love how much these concepts, these scientific concepts that often come up in breath work or NLP or hypnosis, actually apply to just everyday behaviors and decisions throughout our life. And so I just remembered how we got onto this topic. Essentially, that's what I was doing, is I was stretching my capacity. And by stretching my capacity, I also started to shift my identity, because I started to become someone that created content. I started to become someone that coached, that spoke, that did all these things that were in resonance with my visions, with my goals, with the things that I want to achieve in life. And so by doing the actual habits, I was able to shift my identity. And because I was able to shift my identity is now ensuring that I maintain the actions, the habits, the goals that I know will most definitely lead to the things that I'm working towards. And what's been so beautiful about this period in my life is, of course, getting to raise a puppy and doing whatever I want to do every day. I mean, it's such a privilege and a luxury to be able to do this. And I'm so grateful that I believed in myself enough to take that leap, to have the courage to give up what felt so secure, like my pay, my salary, so much, honestly. And I left. I gave it all up because I knew I had to. I knew I had to. I knew that how I felt at an intuitive level, every time I have felt this at an intuitive level, everything has worked out better than I expected. It's a bit wobbly initially, but it always works out. And this time around, I've really come to a point where I feel like I've healed my relationship with money so much. I feel like money has my back. One of my mentors, Melanie Ann Leah, always says, you're going to wonder how to do it until you wonder how you did it. And there's still so much I want to achieve. There's still really big visions I want to bring to life. But I just keep getting hints that I'm on the right path, that I'm on the right track. And it makes me so proud of myself and so happy that I believed in myself enough to make that decision, to take that courageous step. Because there was a point this time last year where I was like, there is no way I'm quitting my job. There is no way that I'm leaving, that I'm giving up this salary. And so to have changed so much, to have gotten to a place where I feel so safe and secure in myself and my ability to make it work is just, honestly, just blows my mind, because I used to be so insecure, so anxious about money, so reliant on having a salary and having a consistent paycheck, and to now have improved my relationship with money, to have built enough of wealth and a strategy for wealth that it's going to support me at least for 12 months, to realize how much I've experienced in the last 12 months. So I have no doubt that so much will happen in the next 12 months. Because what I've come to realize is that courageous actions collapse time. And for you, the courageous action might not be quitting your job or moving or breaking up or asking that person or asking that business or anything that seems externally scary. Sometimes that courageous action is just saying yes to an opportunity, saying yes to doing something you've never done before, to thinking a bit different than you used to behaving a bit differently, to speaking up a bit more than you used to. All this has been so possible for me because I chose to do the hard, confronting inner work when I could, to really integrate the parts of me that I'd neglected, that I felt shame towards, that I didn't feel safe expressing. Because there was a time where I really, truly thought I was broken, that I thought that, well, I couldn't even imagine the life I'm living now, but I knew there was more to life, that there had to be more to life. And so I did the work. I went deep. I cried the tears. I screamed the screams. And as I became less numb, I let more life in. Life became so much more fuller, and I've been able to hold more of life, to be able to experience more of it, to be excited by all the responsibilities I get to have. Looking after a puppy, looking after a home, looking after businesses, looking after myself and my relationships. Having a great relationship with money is possible. Feeling like yourself again is possible. Feeling absolute happiness is possible. Having relationships you can rely and trust is possible. Having the freedom to do what you want when you want is possible. But it does require to go deep, to do that inner work, to really remove and resolve and heal everything that is blocking you from experiencing the life you already deserve. Because it's not a worthy thing. It is not a deserving thing. You already are worthy. You already are deserving. And so as this year comes to a close, think about where you were a year ago. Think about how much has changed, whether it's for the better or for the worse. And know that you could be somewhere completely different this time next year. You could be somewhere completely different by April next year. And so before my camera runs out of battery, regardless of whether you're in a season of growth or a season of success, make the most of it. Make the most of being in a season of growth, of seeing how much you are capable of. Or make the most of being in a season of success and experiencing how easy and flowy life can be. And of course, I hope you stick around so I can keep you up to date with my journey as well.